of participation, a culture of listening to each other. And they are finding solutions together. They can teach us how to be humane. Moreover, they are the most democratic people in this world. A very obvious example that came to my mind when I was just going through some of these texts while I was writing something, an example of chotoro. It's a word being used by Rathwa Bhils who live on the borders of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. This word chotoro in their local language, their indigenous language, is to describe a platform where villagers can assemble, discuss, and resolve issues that concern them. So consensus has always been the essence of tribal life. And that is why we say that they have been the most democratic people in this world. 485 million scheduled tribes are struggling to retain their identity and seek empowerment through our constitutional framework. Unfortunately, it has not yielded commensurate outcomes or results. For them, these constitutional provisions, these were the oppressed of the, these were the weapons of the oppressed. Unfortunately, these weapons, they were not allowed to use those weapons. Rather, those who controlled this weaponry never allowed them. And if you look at just one of their problems, which has resulted in their pauperization, it is the alienation of their land. Large scale alienation of land as a result of development-induced displacement. In a way, you may say that they have been and they are being dispossessed legally through Land Acquisition Act. And this under this Land Acquisition Act, the key words are national interest and public interest. So land is being acquired or has been acquired for national interest and public interest. And now they are putting up very inconvenient questions. They are asking whether they are not part of the same nation, whether they are not part of the same public in whose interest they are being deprived of their land without being provided any concrete, sufficient rehabilitation measures. Look at the deprivation of their forest rights. Forest was not merely their abode. Tribal economy was forest economy, and forest economy was tribal economy. And they are the people who can nourish and sustain these forests the best. Because they have all their abodes of their gods and goddesses. And from such sacred groves, not even a twig of grass can be removed. They have been declaring the endangered species of birds or other animals as their totems. This is the tribal way of conservation of forest and flora and fauna. Now, the Forest Rights Act 2006, which they have been able to gain through a long struggle, perhaps this seems to be their last hope as far as forest is concerned. And the Forest Rights Act 2006 has given them a new hope, perhaps the last hope, if it is implemented honestly and sincerely. A very disturbing report. I was just reading this report about 4 or 5 days back, when the Chhattisgarh government declared that they are carving out a Ram Van Gaman Path. They believe that these are the areas and their halting places where Ram stopped. Fine, no problem. But in the forests, the small huts, which they describe as their Pen Gudiya, where they keep the emblems of their gods and goddesses, these are being converted into temples. That is not acceptable. So many other instances can be given. So such tribal customs need to be looked at sympathetically. Now we have moved away from charity and welfare to rights. So it has to be rights-based development. So if the state is doing anything for them, they are not doing any charity. This is their right as the weakest segment of Indian citizens. In comparison to the other disadvantaged sections of the society, because whenever we are faced with the question as to why there has not been a pan-Indian or all-India tribal mobilization or tribal movement. Perhaps the main reason is that they cannot constitute themselves as a pan-Indian interest group because of lack of homogeneity at the national level. Unlike, say, backward classes movement or unlike, say, Dalit movement. So this is one of the handicaps that they have been suffering from. Moreover, given the numbers, the tribal voice shall always remain marginalized in our national politics. But anyhow, they must feel through various acts of commissions, they must feel the difference between their colonial past and the post-colonial present. The tribal cultures the world over, not only in India, are wounded cultures, and they require a healing touch and not coercive actions. If we are able to think like this, it is largely due to the fact that we are students of anthropology. It reminds me one of my favorite quotes of Varier Elvin, when he said that the essence and art of anthropology is love, without which nothing is fertile and nothing is true. All the time we mourn this fact that anthropology is getting marginalized in our national affairs. It is not anthropology that is getting marginalized, it is anthropologists. Because now anthropology has been taken over by so many other disciplines, and they are using it. That reminds me of a very interesting quote of Angela Cheater, a very exciting Black American anthropologist, when she wrote that today anthropology has become too important to be left to anthropologists alone. So that is how we find that these are some of the issues which I wanted to share with you, and that has been agitating my mind like so many other of anthropologists and in the anthropological fraternity. So all these points need to be elaborated upon, obviously. And with this, I thank Professor Vinay Srivastav and Dr. Kia Pandey for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. Thank you.